Hi, this is going to be an update on devlogs and various personal projects in general. It doesn't quite fit into Audiolab devlogs, but it'll touch on that a little bit. Anyway, so as I said at the end of the last one of those that I did, I was going to actually take a break from this project because of the direction that it's going. It just sort of made sense. And just kind of mess around with some other stuff. So here's how that went over the last 3 weeks. Basically, it was a nice break. It was sort of like I was taking a vacation. I kept my chain of work going, so minimum of half an hour every day doing some kind of programming or programming-related task on personal projects, just because I like that. It gives my day a good rhythm and helps things move forward. And I don't really specify what kind of work takes place in that half hour. And, half an hour a day isn't a huge amount, but it's enough to get some stuff done. Anyway, so where my wanderings took me was I mentioned a few times that I wanted to choose an appropriately scoped game project that would be smaller than the Foresight Fight and be able to be put together a lot quicker and released before that happens, just sort of as a practice piece for my tools, have something to actually target with them. And my previous attempts at this were that Raccoon Adventure game that I showed and Order of the Moon, and I think I had one other. All of them ended up scoped much too large for what I wanted to do. I'm still interested in finishing those projects, but they just turned into way too big a thing. So now I have sort of firmed up a concept of something I want to make that is appropriately scoped, at least for now. Let's hope it stays that way. So kind of have a target that I'm shooting towards. Not at the point where I'm ready to share anything about it, but I at least have an idea in mind that I'm working toward now. So where that took me was I definitely need my tile editor functional for that. And I've shown this thing before. Let's see, where is that exactly? This won't be... Let's see, tile editor. So unlike Audiolab, I don't think this is a tool that I expect to release publicly, and might be the sort of thing that's like embedded within Foresight Fight for graphic editing or something, or other things that might have editors. Anyway, yeah, so it's this thing. This is a very outdated version. I haven't rebuilt it on this computer. But as I was changing, it's kind of a cool little design that I accidentally drew. I don't know what it is, but it looks neat. Anyway, so first thing I started doing was porting start Audiolab here, porting over this menu bar, because this was very useful for making this feel more like a real application and just a real useful place to tuck away just various functions. Like, I want to be able to send this to Audio Editor, so it makes the most sense to put that in a menu item. So having that in Tile Editor made sense. So as I was copying things over, I realized that copying wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to instead generalize the code that Audiolab used and include it in my my set of libraries that I use for pretty much everything. So what that led to was a whole bunch of noodling around with my UI toolkit. I've shown this test harness a few times. There are a few more things in it. So I pulled in from Audiolab my my window code. I also replaced that textual close button with a graphical one. So yeah, these changes will be visible here in Audiolab. So like if I open this window, I have some rounded corners here, a drop shadow, I think that was already there, and this close button, just looks a little nicer. I think that might be the total of changes that will be visible in Audiolab in terms of what I did. But yeah, so I have windows that I can open and drag around, and they have all the behaviors of event handling and ordering, stacking, etc., closing, all that stuff. And I also brought over my confirmation dialog, because this is something that I pretty much want in every productivity application. Just the ability to pop this up, have it be a modal thing, so if I click elsewhere, it just beeps at me. I have keyboard shortcuts for that, so I can press N to say no, I can press Y to say yes, I can press Enter to say yes, I can press Escape to say no, all that stuff. Control D for don't save, Escape for cancel, Enter for save, all that stuff. Anyway, yeah, so that's just kind of today. I got that ready to go for use in a place like Tile Editor, because before that was just part of the Audio Lab code base, and I wanted it elsewhere. In the process, I basically just pulled at every little thread that was bothering me with my UI code and fixed up a whole bunch of little stuff. Like, for example, I had this thing where, so if I roll over this, you can see that getting a little bit lighter. I don't like the way that looks. I should change the graphic. But yeah, anyway, the behavior is when the mouse is over this, it changes color a little bit. So I noticed that, little things like when the window was open, mouse move events were being detected as if the window was not intercepting the mouse movement. So I fixed it so that it does a hit detection that, doesn't act like this is a rollover on that just because it's within these bounds, because the window intercepts it. Little stuff like that. What else did I do? My cursor was blinking when menus were open in the edit text, and I didn't like that, so I fixed that. Then I noticed that there was some weird stuff going on with, when I'd place the cursor on the left side, it wasn't in the same place on the first character as it was over here, and that didn't quite match selection boundaries. So I did a bunch of cleanup with stuff like that, so now that little things like that are nicer. Yeah, so basically those were the sorts of activities I was doing. Anything else worth mentioning? I did a complete rework of how event handling works. I don't really want to get into the whole thing because I wouldn't do a great job of explaining it, but basically when I have a key down event here, it could potentially be kind of complicated to decide where that goes because, so in this situation, I can actually come up with an even better situation than that. Let's go to this situation, audio format, other. Okay, so right now, if I would press the 1 key, ideally it would put a 1 in that text box, and that is what it does. But getting that to happen is not the simplest thing in the world because there are a lot of things that want to handle key events different ways and have different priorities to them. So the focused text box should be the top priority, but I also have a menu bar here. However, the menu bar should be disabled because this is a modal dialog. Nothing should take any of those events. Now, my cursor is not in this text field, so it's not working right, clearly. Cursor is not in the text field, and yet it's still typing. Okay. Yeah, so, that demonstrates the sort of issue I've been hammering away at, and as with every devlog, I found a bug I need to fix. So what that should do is just beep at me, because nothing happened. But also, if I press escape right now, I don't have shortcuts set up for these. If I had escape wired up to this cancel button, then it would activate it, and I should. Anyway, yeah, so just deciding where that key press goes, if I had in here some text field that was highlighted and I press a button that also is mapped to a shortcut for one of these, then it should go to the text field, but if the text field is not focused, then it should go to the button, and if the dialog is not there, and that keystroke also happens to activate a menu item, it should activate the menu item, all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, just redesigned that whole system so that it could work with this better. Anyway, so, and I also added a thing where for menu items, I can have alternate key shortcuts. Only the first one prints here, but a good example of this is for undo and redo, for redo specifically. The menu shows Control Y, but since it's a very common shortcut and I sometimes use it myself, Control Shift Z also works. And I had this janky system in Audio Lab where it would just specifically intercept Control Shift Z and then fake the menu flash on activating that and do the same action. So instead now I have something more official here where this actually gets assigned multiple keyboard shortcuts and checks for all of them in sequence, and if it finds a match, then that item gets activated. Anyway, yeah, so that's the kind of stuff I've been doing. kind of unrelated to that, there was a mystery I solved in here that I didn't end up talking about when I meant to. There was something going on with my noise sampler. That is unpleasant, but, that's how it is. So there was some artifacting here. Yeah, you can hear that kind of resonance going on there. That thing that's going on. Turned out that had nothing at all to do with anti-aliasing, and it's in fact an artifact of my hashing algorithm that I'm using to generate these noise samples. And if I put a higher seed in here, it doesn't come through at all. So there's none of that resonance. So I'm just defaulting to seed 100 instead of 0. This should probably be a very high prime. I don't know a very high prime off the top of my head, but that'd be a better default than 100. But anyway, yeah, just turns out that really low seeds, just due to the nature of random numbers, or the hashing algorithm that I'm using, had sort of a resonance. The higher I go, by the time I get to 4, it's already basically gone. So that's that mystery solved. Anyway, yeah, so talking about the future here again, this isn't an actual Audiolab devlog. I haven't been entirely happy with the format of these. It's kind of disorganized. I just do them more or less off the cuff after, kind of in a hurry after a long effort to get something done. And I'd like them to be a bit more of a formal thing. I'd like to put some more effort into what I present here. And I'm not in the best position to be presenting something regularly every 3 weeks. So basically what I'm going to do is just put a pause on devlogs until I'm in a different position, and probably when they return, they'll be in a different format. More of a, less of just kind of a messy, almost let's play, just here's what I've been doing, here's me noodling around with my software, oh shoot, I found a bug, I better go fix it. That stuff's fun. Maybe I'll also do that kind of thing. This is probably the kind of activity people do when they stream programming. I've never done that. I'm not sure I would enjoy it, but maybe I would. Maybe I would. I probably would, actually, now that I think about it. Anyway, yeah, this game that I'm talking about, in 3 weeks I'm not going to have anything to show with it. It'd be nice if I did, but the problem is I need to tool up a bit more first, tile editor. I need the ability to make graphics for this in a way that I like. I could open up an image editor program and make things in a way I don't like, but I want my tools to be good for this, and I don't know, that's important to me. I'm following a plan, pushing a large boulder uphill. I don't know where the top of the hill is, so all I can do is keep pushing. And yeah, I just don't feel like it's interesting to be giving updates every 3 weeks on, well, yeah, the boulder's a little farther up the hill, still don't know where the top is, stuff like that. But, just giving myself some freedom to do these when it makes sense rather than on a specific schedule. Let's see what happens. So, yeah, anyway, Audiolab, getting somewhere, Foresight Fight, it'll get there when it gets there. I still haven't figured out why this icon doesn't show up in the window here. It shows up here. There's something weird going on with Windows, and I used to be able to put it there, and I don't know what. But anyway, yeah, that's the sort of thing that I would just mess around with if I gave myself the freedom to mess around, and I think that's kind of important. So, yeah, anyway, this is no more organized than usual, maybe even less. But yeah, when I have something organized and when I'm ready to show some reasonably polished product, then this will come back. Until then, I guess they won't be there. So, yeah, I'll see you when I have something that I'm ready to show.